to tell me a little bit about your role in An Officer and a Gentleman? Because I understand you're playing the lead role, which is Zack Mayo, yeah?
That's right. So I'm playing Zack Mayo, which was made famous by Richard Gere in the movie. Basically, he's a young guy who's had a pretty rough life, and he sees his escape from that life as becoming a naval aviation officer he basically met a Navy officer when he was about 12 years old in the Philippines, and then it sort of sparked this idea to be an officer basically and sort of escape with this 12-week program. And then obviously he complicates things with falling in love with a girl, which sometimes happens, and he befriends a guy called Sid. And it's basically a story of, overcoming adversity, love, loss, and sort of courage as well.
Were you a fan of the original movie? Had you seen the original movie at all?
Do you know what? I think I might have seen it when I was younger, but I remember doing a workshop for Leicester Curve on it 8 or 9 years ago, when it was sort of in its early stages with Leicester Curve, just as like a table read and a little performance at the end. So I got quite a good insight then, not really knowing that I'd ever go back and do the show or anything. So I kind of knew a little bit about it. So yeah, I was lucky. But then I did a little bit of research before the audition, sort of reread the script. It all sort of came back to me. But yeah, I mean, but then once I got the job, then I rewatched the movie afterwards. Yeah.
What's it like stepping into the shoes of someone like Richard Gere?
Pretty good. I mean, he did a good job of it. I think they filmed it originally sort of like an indie film, and I'm not sure they realised it was going to be such a massive cult sort of, hit. I think, back then people could write a script and they could get given a couple of $1 million to go make it, you know what I mean? And people would take more chances. But I think Richard Gere really did a good job at it, and it's one of these roles where it's quite iconic and it's quite a gift where everything's in the script there for you. There's no surprises. It's really easy in a way, if you've done the work in the rehearsal room. So it all falls into place really nicely, and it's a gift for me. So I can't really complain.
This is a musical version, so it's not the same as the actual film itself. Can you give me a bit of an insight into the musical version? What sort of music can we expect from it?
What we've tried to do is we've put in songs of that era that would have been in the charts. So there's a few Bon Jovi numbers in there. There's Cyndi Lauper, Madonna, that kind of 80s rock kind of vibes. But the nice thing is that none of them sound like carbon copies of the original tracks. We've really, we haven't just sort of like bung them in and thought, right, well, that's done. That kind of, we've really worked on them and made sure that the orchestration behind it is in keeping with the same theme throughout. So it really, really works. Like I do Blaze of Glory, Bon Jovi number, one of his early songs. We've got Living on a Prayer in there as well from Bon Jovi. Girls Just Want to Have Fun, Material Girl, all these sort of things for the girls as well. And, the really great Alone in there. But Georgia sings that really well. So it all just really, really works. I think before Leicester Curve got hold of it, a theatre company in Australia had the rights to it. And they wrote original music to the script. So it's the exact same script as what we've got, which is basically the same script as the film. And they tried to make it like Miss Saigon and really epic and filmic, and it just didn't quite hit the mark apparently. So they revisited it with pop songs, which I think, as far as I'm concerned, it really, really, really works. And it sort of enables the characters to be singing songs that they would have been listening to in a way. But yeah, I mean, the audience seemed to enjoy it, so that's the main thing.
Well, this is it. I mean, and of course, 80s music seems to be back in at the moment, especially as far as the theatre's concerned, because there's lots of other musicals featuring 80s music, and that really seems to be capturing a lot of the audience's imagination, doesn't it?
It definitely does. I mean, we've got Pretty Woman with the same company going out there, so we've got 2 Richard Geres on the road. Is enough for the UK, I think. We don't need any more. And yeah, I mean, listen, it's a great era for music. There were some amazing songs written in that time, so you've got a massive catalogue of songs to go off. It wasn't too processed. It was real music, coming into that sort of age of exploration and everyone being really individual, and, it was really cool. I mean, I was an 80s baby. I was born in 87, so, all these songs were sort of my childhood in a way. You know, when I was a small child coming into the 90s, these songs were still around, and just chatting to audience members, it's really sort of like nostalgic as well for them to revisit the story and to have this soundtrack accompanying it. So it's really, really nice.
That's wonderful. You know, give me a bit of an insight into your career as well, then, Luke, because I understand that you've been involved in several other musicals. Did you do a UK tour of Footloose? I understand as well.
Yeah, so that was the last time I toured, which was about 8 years ago, maybe. And I toured. I did Ren in Footloose with Gareth Gates playing Willard and Lee Brennan from 911 also taking the same role. That was a really great tour. We did about, I think, 9 or 10 months with that. Wow. So that was really good. I toured that. I've done Hairspray in Cork and Derry, which I played Link Larkin in that. Yeah. I was in one of the biggest flops in the West End. I was in I Can't Sing, which was Cynthia Erivo's sort of break. But more recently, I was in the original cast of Everybody's Talking About Jamie in Sheffield, and transferred that to London for a couple of years. And then, obviously, COVID hit then. And then coming out the back of COVID, well, during COVID, I filmed Masters of the Air, which is on Apple TV.
Right.
So I was hanging out with Austin Butler for a couple of months, which was a bit of a chore.
And I did note as well, you've got a bit of a Star Wars connection as well.
Well, yeah, I did one very fleeting episode where I was cast as a running soldier, where I just had to run across a bridge and say a couple of lines, which was a really nice little gig to land. That was around the same time as I was filming Masters of the Air, so I was really lucky, you know, sort of turned a rubbish situation into a good one during COVID. And then coming out the back of that, we did Billy Elliot at Leicester Curve playing Tony, which was always a dream of mine to play that role, because I was never around to audition when it was in the West End. So that's basically it, really. I mean, I did a couple of, you know, ensemble cover jobs before that. So I've been around for quite a while. I've been professional now for like 14 years. So, you know, it's good. I mean, we're sort of just ticking off the good parts and the good sort of like poppy, 80s vibe things. That seems to be my niche.
You're from Leeds originally, I understand. Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah. So how did you get into theatre in the first place? Did you do amateur dramatics when you were growing up? Did you have a passion for theatre from an early age? Or
when I was about 15, I did a summer school at Wakefield Theatre, which was just to do like 2 weeks rehearsals with 2 weeks performances to fill up, you know, a 6-week holiday. I think my mum was just like, you know, I think you'd quite enjoy this, and they're looking for kids to do it. So I just went along, not thinking I'd know anyone. And then all the girls from school were there, and I was like, oh God, no, they're seeing me sing. But I was, so I was just basically like just a sporty kid growing up and played football and rugby. And then by the time I did that, I did that a couple of years in a row. That was it, really. I did like 15, age 16, age 17, age 18. And then when I got to about there, I was like, oh, maybe I want to do it a bit more than just once a year.
Yeah.
And then I went and did a BTEC musical theatre course when I was 17 till I was 19 at Leeds College of Music.
Yeah.
Which was really good. So I learned a lot of like theory, and then I went down and auditioned in London. The rest is sort of history. It sort of snowballed from there, because by the time you get to third year, then you end up getting an agent and turning into auditions, and then you end up getting the job, and then it sort of, you know, well, for me anyway, it was a bit of a snowball effect to where I am now. So
yeah. I mean, and obviously now you're in An Officer and a Gentleman. You're coming to Cardiff now. Have you played Cardiff before?
Yeah, I have. I've done Cardiff. I've never done is it the Millennium Centre? I've never done the Millennium Centre. I've always done, what's the other one called?
The New Theatre? Did you come to the New Theatre last time? Yeah, that's right,
Yeah, so I've done the New Theatre. I recently gigged at the New Theatre as well, doing a Frankie Valli tribute act.
Oh, right, brilliant.
Yeah, so I sometimes do those when I'm not in a show. And so if anyone was there, they'll probably be the same. It's the same target audience, to be fair.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I've done that a few times. I've done Cardiff. I did all the Fun of the Fair tour like 12 years ago. And I think he's sort of the guy that produces that show, Alan Darlow. I think
Mm.
he's from Cardiff. So we all had a big party. And then I've been there obviously with Footloose as well. Yeah.
What's your favourite point of The Officer and a Gentleman musical?
Well, do you know what? I think people always look forward to the bit that they remember, which is the end sort of sequence. Where love lifts us up where we belong is the soundtrack in that part, and I come down, we've all sort of graduated, and the whole sort of struggle of the show's kind of done, and then it's sort of like, right, well, let's get Paula and lift her up and have this big iconic moment, and the gasp in the audience every single night is really, really cool to sort of like, you sort of feel it in the air that there's a big sort of sigh of relief, and everyone's been waiting 2 hours for this one moment in a way. So it's really nice. It's a really nice moment, and all the officers are in their dress whites, and it's really,
Wonderful.
really, wholesome moment, and everyone seems to love it. So.
Yeah. And apart from that final moment, what do you hope audiences will take away from coming to see the show?
Well, do you know what? I think people underestimate this show, and it's going under the radar a bit. And what we're getting is that a lot of people are really, respecting that the work that we're producing. It's the top quality cast across the board. Like, there's no weak links anywhere. Everyone's so ridiculously talented, it's sickening. All of the lead roles are just so well cast, and it's just a joy to do it, to be honest. And I think people, when you've got that, it's really easy, and it's easy for an audience to come and sit and watch and just enjoy the story and just go on this journey with us. And it's not Shakespeare, but it's a great night out, and people, honestly, they just love it. And it's the same reaction every single night, which is a massive standing ovation, which is, we're lucky to be in that kind of show where, you can be in other sort of more artistic shows if you would, but ultimately, this is the reaction you want when you perform in a theatre. You want people to just love it and have tears in their eyes and be moved and go on a journey. And everyone's different. Everyone's going to take different things from it and different favourite parts. But the nostalgia of the film into a live performance, and then you add the songs on top. I mean, it's just a winner. People absolutely love it. So we're very, very lucky to be in the show.